everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Erin Connors, Director of Communications at the Fowler Museum at UCLA. The Fowler is pleased to present today's program focusing... Hello, everyone, and welcome. Oh, no, thank you for joining us today. The Fowler is pleased to present today's program focusing on the two iconic Amritas, the painter and the poet, presented in conjunction with the exhibition I Will Meet You Yet Again, Contemporary Sikh Art. This virtual lecture by Dr. Nikky G.K. Singh focuses on two postmodern women featured in the exhibition, painter Amrita Sher-Gil and poet Amrita Pritam. Through paintbrush and pen, they tell us about themselves, just as they tell us about violence, modernity, and gender injustice. Through their respective genres, the two Amritas expose patriarchal, social, political, and national infrastructures. How do these poems and paintings echo one another? How does the language of color fuse with the language of sound? What is the verbal-visual nexus of these artworks? And how do these works make space for what poet Percy Shelley calls the wonder of our being? Nikky Singh is Crawford Professor and Chair of Religious Studies at Colby College in Maine. She's published extensively in the field of Sikh studies, and her recent books include poems from Sikh Sacred Tradition, Janamsakhi, paintings of Guru Nanak in Early Sikh Art, the First Sikh, the life and legacy of Guru Nanak, and her pioneering study, The Feminine Principle in the Sikh Vision of the Transcendent, was published by Cambridge University Press in 1993. Professor Singh has served on the editorial board of several journals, including History of Religions, Journal of American Academy of Religion, Sikh Formations, and CrossCurrents. If you have any questions during this program, please submit them through the Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can submit and upvote entries that you would like to be considered, and they will be answered by Dr. Singh at the end of the program. And now, over to you, Dr. Singh.
Thank you very much, dear Erin. I'm delighted to be here, and it's a wonderful exhibition that you all have put in at the Fowler Museum. I need to get my screen set up. Okay. So thank you very much. And my heartfelt thanks to Sonia Tammi and to Hana Yu for organizing this. And I'm delighted to be here. I'm in Maine right now, and I wish I could have been in person at the museum, but you have done a fabulous, very innovative exhibition. I got a little bit of it through photography and so forth through Sonia Tammi. And I want to share with you the two iconic Amritas, the poet and the painter. Amrit, the two famous women. I was growing up in the Punjab, and Amrita Sher-Gil, who was a great artist, is a great artist. Her Marg magazine was in my room. That was kind of my show and tell, this lovely, lovely woman. And Amrita Pritam's photograph was in our family album. So from a childhood, I have grown up with these two wonderful Amritas. And the word itself, Sanskrit word Amrita, not Mrita, death. So these are immortal artists. So I'm very glad for the audience to be together to share these works of these wonderful women. These two images come from the exhibition. On the left, we have Sher-Gil standing there, showing her book, which was on the Tales from the Punjab. And it is done by the Singh twins, who are amazing artists. They are in the UK, and they have been bringing Sikh history, colonialism, identity issues, home issues, diasporic issues in beautiful artworks. So that is their work on the left. And on the right, we have the painting by Kamal Taliwal. And it's a recent painting. I think he did it last year. And it shows Amrita Pritam. And what you have is the script there is of a very famous poem, Aj Akhan Waris Shah Nu. She was very young when she wrote it. And Waris Shah is a great beloved poet, Sufi poet, 18th century poet. And he wrote that poem. It's called He Rancha, equivalent of Romeo and Juliet. in English parlance. And Heer could not marry Ranjha. And Waris Shah, the poet, wrote beautiful pages of poetry of her love. And so Amrita Pritam is going back to 1947, when that awful moment of partition of the Punjab, India's independence, 1947, the colonial power is leaving and India is becoming independent, but the Punjab and Bengal were parted into West Pakistan and East Pakistan. So people had to migrate. Many people were killed. Millions were homeless. So those migrations, so you have that line brought in here. This is the Radcliffe line that went through homes, through villages, through temples and mosques and gurdwaras, separating people. And it was Radcliffe came from England. He was a lawyer. He did not have proper maps or consensus or anything like that. And that haphazard line was drawn, and such carnage and such horrific historical moments. So Amrita Pritam wrote that poem, and it is, since it's in Punjabi language was common to Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs. Everybody was living together very harmoniously. But with the British, the colonial identity politics and so forth, all of them divided. And so Punjabi, which is written in the Gurmukhi script for the Sikhs, Sanskrit, Devanagari for the Hindi speakers, and Shahmukhi for the Muslim speakers. It was all common. So you have both scripts here in the painting, and Amrita Pritam's picture, she had to come. And the poem is really beautiful because Amrita Pritam is again calling herself, she's asking, Waris Shah, wake up from your grave. Because one Punjabi girl, Heer, cried, you wrote pages and pages. Where are you now? And you see Waris Shah's tomb back there, his shrine. And so it's really kind of very empowering poem. She's taking on the voice of the poet. And what she's talking about is the toxicness, the poison that the serpents spread. And that serpent is the colonial machine that kind of created identity politics and separated, divided people who were living together as a family were split apart. So it's a very powerful poem, and Amrita Pritam is bringing that moment. Here are the two Amritas. As you can see, Amrita Pritam on the left. She was born in Gujranwala, Pakistan. These are her dates, 1919 to 2005. She was called the voice of the Punjab. She migrated to Delhi, worked for the All India Radio, received lots of honors. She was the first woman recipient of the Sahitya Academy, first woman recipient of the Padma Shri, Janan Peeth Award for her lifetime contributions. So very, very eminent poet. She also wrote short stories. She wrote autobiography, some of her novels. Pinjar, the film has been made on her works. So she has been extremely prolific. I think 100 volumes of poetry that she wrote. So here is the poet on the left, and on our right is Amrita Sher-Gil. She died at the age of 28, so she did not live very long. But the legacy that she has left is absolutely amazing. She came from a very aristocratic family. Her mother was Hungarian, Jewish. She was an opera singer who had come with the Princess Bamba, Maharaja Ranjit Singh's granddaughter, to visit the Punjab, and met with Sher-Gil's dad and got married. And then they went back to Hungary and stayed there through World War I. So Amrita did not get to come to India till she was 9 years old or so. And then the family came, and then they went back to Europe. And then she went to Paris to study because she was, her talent was just phenomenal. And so the family realized, and so she went to Paris to study, and she was trained at the École des Beaux-Arts. And she was barely 17 when she won a gold medal for her painting young girls. And then she was elected to the Grand Salon in Paris. at a very young age, one of the youngest, and the only Asian to have that kind of accolade. And her works today are considered to be national treasures. As far as I recall, Pandit Nehru, when she died, just to house her paintings, the National Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi was established. So many of her works, most of her works are there. Her works are declared national treasures. There are streets in Delhi named after her, stamps. Hungary has the cultural center in Budapest named after her. I think they wanted to make a film, actually a film on Amrita Pritam too. I don't know, it was in the offing. So these are very, very famous, powerful women. And yet, ironically, they are not that celebrated. They are not that well known. It's really a pity. I think Amrita Sher-Gil was the first woman to have a solo exhibition at the Tate. And so few museums in the USA have any paintings or even know about her, or any scholars work on her. Saloni Mathur is one of the few, isolated scholars in the USA who's working on her. So they both need to be brought into attention. So I'm once again very grateful to Sonia Dhami for bringing them to Fowler. So these are two women, very eminent. Their relationship with their fathers is very interesting. On the right, you have Sher-Gil's father that she painted herself in 1935. And Umrao Singh, Sher-Gil, they had sugar mills, very, very wealthy guy. He was also called the stargazing person, kind of, otherworldly, so to say. Amrita Pritam's father is Kartar Singh Hitkari. Amrita Pritam lost her mother when she was very young, about 11 years old. She was the only child. And as you can see on the right, this is what she's been writing in her autobiography, The Revenue Stamp, that she felt an overbearing presence of her father. And he was a very religious person, in fact, a mystic. He too, it's very interesting, both fathers were very scholarly. They were very much into languages, Sanskrit, Persian, and both of them were photographers too. Very, very, very similar. So Amrita Pritam regrets, in her autobiography, which you can see, having taught me all he could about rhyme and rhythm. She learnt a lot from the dad. My father's desire was that I should find expression in poetry. I began writing, and it seems to me I wrote because I wanted to forget those moments of rejection I felt in him. So there was some kind of a tension that she had. I just happened to be walking by a bookstore in Princeton, and there was Salman Rushdie's book, Languages of Truth, and the cover is Amrita Sher-Gil, and you can see her eyes popping out. And it's a lovely set of essays and articles that he collected. Good work. So here are the two artists, the instruments of agency, the pen, which meant a lot to Amrita Pritam, and the paintbrush that meant a lot to Sher-Gil. But again, keep in mind, Amrita Pritam is creating images, painting images through her pen. And this one is doing a lot of writing. And actually, she did a lot of writing. She wrote letters, she wrote postcards. She was a very, very, Amrita Sher-Gil wrote profusely. She put it in words, what she felt. So not only in the language of colors, but also in verbal language, she did a lot of writing. So for us, the question, poetry and painting. So poetry in Sanskrit Sahitya, it's a union, and painting is chitra or a lekha, something that's not written. So are they really, our question today is, through these two personalities, are they two different processes? Are they two different genres? Rabindranath Tagore, the person who won the Nobel Prize for Literature, was a great artist. He was a great poet, a great artist, a great musician. And for him, art comes from the surplus in humanity. We have a surplus, and it comes from there. Something deep within us finds its voice, finds its medium in art. And I quite like Shelley's in defense of poetry, his description. What does art do? What does poetry do? It creates for us a being within our being. And as he goes on to say, it kind of, what is familiar becomes unfamiliar and brings us to the wonder of a being. So something wondrous is opened up. It's only like, it's open sesame. Art does that. Poetry does that. Music does that. And there is a real commonality amongst these different works. So what is their overall goal? What is their aesthetic objective? And here I go to Confucius. As a teacher, he's the greatest teacher, I think. We owe how he taught, what he did, his ideals, and his Confucian categories from the Book of Songs are very applicable to our artist and poet. So what does art do? Evoke emotions. So this, I just want to emphasize that this, whatever Sher-Gil and Pritam are doing is not art for art's sake. There's a real goal. And the first one is to really evoke emotions, to inspire. And here I think even the word aesthetics, heightening, aesthetics is the opposite of anesthetics. You go to the dentist, gives you an anesthetic shot, you don't feel a thing. This is to make you feel, to sense, to evoke emotions in us, to inspire us. So that's the first one. Number two, to observe. Sometimes we walk with our eyes closed. I find myself, just so busy with things, just sort of sleepwalking, never kind of awake to the world. What is happening? So to really reflect, Guan, as Master Confucius says, what are we observing? What are we reflecting upon? On the self. How do I feel? Our own emotions, the world outside, human behavior, societal norms. So it's kind of observing all that. Number three, to promote social interactions, to really come together. And here I think Tolstoy too. What does art do? Create a community. We are together now, wherever we may be, online, as Hannah has made us, sitting, but we're together. And I think that's what Tolstoy said. It makes a community. The artist is so infected that he or she infects others, and there becomes a community where we shared experience. And I really think museums are very important, because when it comes to religion, scripture, it's his, her, things get divided. But in a public space like the museum, we're all together. And art is universal. It's not a Hindu artist or a Sikh artist or a Muslim or anything. We are together. I mean, here is Amrita Pritam, a Sikh woman, Punjabi woman. She is asking Varis Shah, wake up and redress what's happening, this awful situation, in a poem that we started out with. So it's like, it's connecting together. It's kind of creating a unity. And the fourth goal of their poetry and painting is to critique and redress. It's not, again, art for art's sake. It's transgressive, to transform us. They pick up social injustice, human suffering, issues of identity, colonialism. All these things are intricately woven into their work. And instead of going thematically and making it, they arouse us through that emotional world, we become more sensitive to it than, just theoretically speaking. So those are the four functions. And I want us to keep that in mind as we move along. So to introduce them, what's the best introduction? Their own words, their own autobiography, I would say. I can't say anything. There's so much written on them. But I think just how they see themselves. So Amrita Pritam on the left, her poem, and her poem is literally called Amrita Pritam. It's a very short one. And here she says, "Ik dard si, jo cigarette di tarah main chupchap peeta hai, sirf kuch nazmaं han, jo cigarette de nalon main raakh vangu chadiyan." And my translation, there's an aching that I have inhaled silently like a cigarette. Just a few poems here that I flicked like ashes. off a cigarette. So this is her entire poem. So this is who Amrita Pritam is. And you know, smoking cigarettes is kind of anathema in Sikhism. So this is here again, a very, very radical, transgressive poet, kind of considering herself, seeing herself, the cigarette, the metaphor of the cigarette becomes her life. And there is an aching. And in another poem, which is below, I just took a few little verses from there. She calls, this is the cigarette of life, the one you lit. My body was an unlit cigarette. It was your breath that gave it life. So Amrita Pritam was in love with the lyricist Sahir Ludhianvi, who wrote lots of lyrics, songs for Bollywood films, great Urdu poet. And so she loved, but they never married. They had their separate lives. And so she considers herself a cigarette who was lit by Sahir Ludhianvi. And that's where she got her whole life and so forth. And all these poems are sort of flicking off from that cigarette. So very something that kind of spontaneously, immediately, naturally comes from her being. On the right, you see Amrita Sher-Gil, her self-portrait. She was very young when she did it. This is at the Gallery of Modern Art in New Delhi. This is one of her happy pictures. I've never seen her so joyous, kind of a transcendent joy that's from within. And although she had a deep melancholy, and you can see both sides, Amrita Pritam too, ik dard se, there was an aching. So deep melancholy that is shared by both the painter and the poet. And for Amrita Sher-Gil, she was bicultural, her, Hungarian Indian, biracial, mother is Hungarian, father is Indian, Sikh, binational, and bisexual. She loved guys and she loved women and she had these affairs. So it's like, so all this kind of, being this very open, radical self, there was a deep melancholy that the two of them shared. But these are their own words and their own image. And I want you to keep that in mind. This is who they are. And that's the best introduction I could give you. Now, what are the themes? So because we're looking at their work of art, what are the themes that are shared by the two Amritas? There are 6 points that I want to share with you. And the next few images will be, will concretely look at those. So first of all is opening up a transcendent horizon. The transcendent is not the other world. It is here, it is now, and it is in the body. So what they open up for us is this corporeal spirituality. So it's like, the two worlds, the body and the mind, the body and the spirit, which are often in the patriarchal worldview kind of divided and very harmful and dangerous, are totally integrated, synthesized in their worldview, which emerges through their pen and paintbrush. And here Amrita Sher-Gil, her own words, look at how beautifully she writes. And this is a letter that she wrote to Karl Kandhalwala. And she was he was kind of a mentor for her. She shared a lot with him. He helped her a great deal. So Amrita Sher-Gil, as a matter of fact, I think all art, not excluding religious art, has to come into being because of sensuality. A sensuality so great that it overflows the boundaries of the mere physical. And if you think about it, that's the first word we heard Rabindranath Tagore say. What is art? The surplus. And here again, she's talking about it, that overflow, the boundaries of the mere physical, kind of entering the transcendent dimension. How can one feel the beauty of a form, the intensity or the subtlety of a color, the quality of a line, unless one is a sensualist of the eyes? So that's her criterion for art. And she succeeds fabulously. So that's the first one, open up a transcendent horizon for us. Number 2, they take up a timeless agency. The two women are really very strong, very radical. They want things to be transformed, not the society that they are seeing. They critique it. So, and they take that voice. And so this timeless agency is what they embody. 3, they disclose socio-political reality, not things in rosy-hued ways, but the reality, which, was it Lord Buddha who said, human beings can't bear very much reality? Oh no, that was T.S. Eliot too. Anyway, yes, T.S. 4 quartets, go, said the bird. Human beings can't bear very much reality. So I think they are the antithesis of that, really showing us our socio-economic, political reality. 4, they expose gender injustice. Both are women. They live in a patriarchal society, whether it's Europe, whether it's India, and they bring that to the fore. And number 5, they redress issues of, I mean, these are kind of 4 and 5 are kind of interwoven, redress issues of identity, caste, class, sexuality, race, religion, nation. So all these kind of underlie their works of art. And my final point is they beckon their Punjabi culture. There's something Punjabi. And, Amrita Pritam wrote in Hindi, but she was very, very proud to be writing in Punjabi. And this is local, this is regional. And she still wanted that. And, how we have class and caste and so forth. But Punjabi was her language. And Amrita Sher-Gil, much as she was European and was educated in Hungary, and then she was quite charmed by, when she visited Ajanta and Ellora, once when she came back to India, she kind of transformed art, Indian art, by kind of combining Western aesthetics with her intrinsic ancient Indian art forms. But then towards the end of her life, we see more and more kind of going into her Sikh world. So we shall see these themes, the Punjabi world. Okay, on we go to their work of art. Okay, so this is the first one. What do? Open up a transcendent horizon for us. Now, here is the image painting by Amrita Sher-Gil. She did this in 1940 or so. And these are the musicians. It's very sad that this has not occupied much attention. It really deserves. It's a very beautiful work of art and a very joyous one. This is the Sikh musicians coming together. We can see that it's kirtan. There is the tanpura. You can see the vertical. You can see the horizontal toll. Very lovely colors and designs that are coming here. There's 3 of them. It's a trio, kind of a very spiritual, the eyes are closed and you also see different complexions. This young boy is much fairer. This person is quite dark. And in fact, and he has, he's wearing a kara and they have the, kesha. And so very, very Sikh and the white and quite heavy. Most of Amrita's characters are very kind of thin and elongated and so forth. This very, 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 very different aesthetic that comes into play here. And you can see the contrast between his white, sheer white, sparkling shirt and the turbans and the flowers, the brilliant crimson flowers. And that redness comes out very, very beautifully in her works of art. And I think she quotes Van Gogh somewhere, his love for the colors and how this bright red, she cites him in one of her letters. And so the design on the dari below. So it's a very, I don't know, it's there's some kind of a transcendent joy that that this image gives you. And to me, somehow, in one of my articles, I've written on it, how her own self-portrait and this particular painting, there's some kind of a unity between the two, which I find very, very inspirational. There's a joy, the profound joy. And it's here, it's on earth, in these bodies. It's not somewhere, kind of divorced from here. It's not out in the heavens. Something beautiful and lovely and joyous is created right here. On the left is a beautiful poem by Amrita Pritam. ਚਾਨਣ ਦੀ ਫੁਲਕਾਰੀ ਤੋਪਾ ਕੌਣ ਪਰੇ ਅੰਬਰ ਦਾ ਇੱਕ ਆਲਾ ਸੂਰਜ ਬਾਲਦਿਆਂ ਮੰਦੀ ਉੱਚੀ ਮਮਟੀ ਦੀਵਾ ਕੌਣ ਤਰੇ. I've translated it. I'll go to the next image, but this goes with this particular painting. Okay, next one. So this is Fulkari I'm sure we have some Pulkari work in the exhibition right now. Pulkari is this typical Punjabi work where the whole cloth is covered with embroidery of flowers. So you don't see the background. All you see is the flowers. So Chanandi Pulkari. So this is, what did I translate? I gave it a title, which I can't quite see on my own screen, but I think it's Flowerful. Yeah, Flowerful Scarf. That's what I called it. So as you can see, how can you embroider a scarf that is full of light, transparent, transcendent? There's no way to sew it. So that's her question. Chanandi Pulkari Topa Kaun Pare. This incandescent scarf, who can embroider it from an alcove in the sky, a sunlit lantern? Who can place it on the apex of my mind? And so forth. And then you see that same autobiographical note here. E jo sanu ag rakhvi de chaliyon, dil de bukkal baldi chinga kaun jare. Ashes you left of glowing fire, how to drape my being with their burning embers. So it's a very powerful, very mystical poem that she is writing. Very, very powerful. And one of my favorite poems, I must say, Chanan Di Pulkari, Chanan, light, flower, this flowerful scarf, all made of light, all transparent. How to sew it, how to drape it, because it's so full of memories of this glowing fire, the ashes. And in a way, Sahib Ludhianvi, in her own autobiography, she writes that Sahib Ludhianvi would sit and smoke. He would smoke so much, and then she would take all those cigarettes and put them away, and then later smoke them herself to kind of show the connection, the union, that physical intimacy between them through the cigarettes. But anyway, so it's kind of her own pain and passion that is coming out. So all is over, of course, yet sighs seep out, still speaking of you, this incandescent scarf, who can embroider it with flowers? So you see this one and Amrita Pritam's poem. Now, how are they timeless agents? Sher-Gil here they are, as I said before, they are really radical women. They're very strong women. They're not just simple artists. They want to make an impact on the world. And here you can see Sher-Gil. These are her words, Europe belongs to Picasso, Matisse, and Braque, and many others. India belongs only to me. These are very popularly quoted. In any article of Amrita Sher-Gil's, you'll hear that. I mean, that's quite remarkable for a little, in her late teens to be saying that. And here we see her dismantling Gauguin's great master trope. Here is the master being dismantled by a little 17-year-old or something. Quite remarkable. And so she puts herself, instead of the Tahitian, she puts herself into the portrait, and how strong she is. And, this is no commodity. This is no something to be gazed at. She is looking into the distance. She is the one in power. She is the subject. And we do see a little bit of the Impressionist work, much of Van Gogh, who was very much into Japanese art and so forth. He had collected a lot and wrote letters to Theo, how beautiful Japanese art was, and in fact painted himself as a Japanese monk. You see his influence in the background, but herself, she is quite remarkable. Her hands are there. And whereas Paul Gauguin has flowers, the woman is holding flowers and she has flowers in the hair and so forth. This is simple, plain, red, bold lips and being naked. Here is a body. There's nothing, it's nothing pornographic. This is who she is. And it's a strength, it's a power. And in a way, this reminds me of prehistoric India, that little dancing girl that we have, that kind of confidence that she exudes from the Indus Valley, that little bronze sculpture that we have, very, very tiny. And there too, she's nude, but there is a power. There is some kind of a sensual and spiritual power that is embodied. And so she does. Analogous to her, Amrita Pritam voices, I'm the Draupadi of countless births. Here is the whole poem. We won't go. I know time flies. And Draupadi, as you know, is the very important heroine from the Mahabharata. She's the wife of the 5 Pandu brothers. But of course, the brothers are gambling and they pawn her off. They lose her to the awful Kurus, their cousins, but the bad guys. And so they lose the good guys, Arjuna and Yudhishthira and the others. They have lost their kingdom, wealth, everything. And last comes Draupadi, and they even pawn her. And so what does Amrita Pritam do? Take the voice of Draupadi. What does she say? I'm the Draupadi of countless births. I am made of 5 elements, and to all the 5 I'm wedded. So instead of the 5 Pandu brothers, she is wedded to the 5 elements that we are all made of. So this kind of materiality, the corporeality, that's what she is affirming, validating. That's who she is. I'm the same body of the 5 elements. I'm the same woman, Draupadi, but I'm not the stake today, for I have come to gamble. So she has come to gamble. She's the subject. She's the victor. I'm made of 5 elements, and to all the 5 I'm wedded. Goes on and on. I've risen from the crowded court, winning all the 5. I'm the Draupadi of countless births. So quite powerful, So this is not just one heroine. It's not Amrita Pritam came and went. She'll be coming again and again. That womanhood, that more than that, physicality. We are the elements. And we think of ourselves as spirit and nothing. Oh, don't care for the body or anything. So she's really talking about the very essential fire and water and the earth and the air, the breath space that we are. So that's her. Just as here we are. So the third point is how they expose the socio-political reality. I am bringing here 2 paintings. On the left is by Amrita Sher-Gil. And here is just to show you as a contrast by Rabindranath Tagore, which was done in 1904. So, the early part of the 20th century, India is under the British Raj and so forth, and creating Mother India, the notion of Mother India, this Mother Earth, Mother India is very, very significant to the sons of India. And so on the right, we have this wonderful, very kind of a mythic, ideal goddess that is created by one of the leading artists of India, Rabindranath Tagore, Bharat Mata, Mother India, 1904. And you can see she has a halo. She's like a goddess with her 4 arms, which is kind of a theological expression, visual theology, that she's all powerful. She is she's spirituality, holding the rosary. She's giving all the food, harvest, and so forth. She's all education. She's holding the Vedas, scriptures in her hand, and she is giving clothes and so forth. So nurturing us, giving us everything. Mother India, this is who Mother India is, and we are all her sons. Of course, daughters too, but at that time, the rhetoric was Mother India and the sons of India against the colonial empire. What does Sher-Gil do? Totally contrast. Here you see a mother with a starving children. And that's what she did. She came from a very elite family, but she saw what the majority was, what were the masses, and how colonialism had really exploited the people, had exploited the land. And there are the Bengal famine and so forth. So everything is kind of, how malnutritioned these people are. And so here is a mother, a destitute mother with her kids, and look at the emotions that arise, that state of helplessness, the pose, the colors, the hands, the eyes of the children. What does a mother do? That's Mother India, realism. So she brought the whole current of realism into Indian art, which was totally new, very, very transformative as a work of India. So instead of these kind of mythic ideals and fabulous, beautiful images, she's creating, giving it a real twist. This is what India is. This is what poverty is. This is what the masses are doing. And likewise, so they're both very critical. Poem by Amrita Pritam, Kabira Roya. Kabir was that great poet, Indian poet, and so his cries. So she's written a whole article on the critique of the empire. Imperialism is a royal plant. Samraj Katama Shahi Bhutta hai. So here is one plant, very royal, up there. And what is humanity? What are the rest of the people? They are like weeds. So they can be stampeded upon any time. The ruler can ask them to do anything. So they are but weeds. She critiques socialism. Socialism is what? A temple of the human race. Samajwad, manukh zaat da mandir. What to build that temple? We need bricks, and humans are bricks. So the contractor, whatever he wants, he can lay the bricks however he wants. To set up the temple, they will do anything. So human beings are no better than bricks, just individuals laid down, set by the contractors, for the temple, for the good of the whole. And then critique of religion. Critique of religion. Dini hukumat Rabb di rahmat. Rule of religion, mercy of God. Sirf takna varjit. Te bolna varjit. Te sochna varjit. Sirf takna varjit. Just to see, te bolna varjit. Just to see is prohibited. Te bolna varjit. To speak is prohibited. Te sochna varjit. To think is prohibited. So everything is censored. This is what religion does. And so, here she is writing it, these against socialism, against empire, against religion. And I think she also criticizes democracy because it's just talk. So going to our fourth point, how they expose sexism. And here we see this bride, beautiful bride. And even today, this is so, it really needs to be brought to attention. And the richer India is getting and the more affluent people are getting, the more jewelry and how much is spent for the daughter and the weddings so lavishly. But it's really a commodification of women. So the dowry system, which needs to end, is being very, very significantly critiqued here. And you can see the bride, everything is so tight. And so, in this image, you can see the constriction of the female body. And this is no happiness. This is not flamboyancy. This is very much as society has confined her. There she is. It's a magnificent image. It hangs at the National Gallery of Modern Art in Delhi. That's one of the first things I spotted when I first visited that museum. Anyway, and analogous to it, Amrita Pritam has a poem called Kanyadan. I have it translated. It comes from my book, Sacred and Secular Literature. Here it is. So what is that? The bride that you just saw, blotched in auspicious henna, shrouded in shimmering crimson, bound in chains of gold, yellow gold, part of the flesh, daughter of a womb, oh great father, oh great mother, how many blessings you gather. So this is all kind of being ironic. You think you're getting blessings by giving it to the daughter, Kanyadan, gift to the daughter. It isn't. This is what you're doing. It's actually, you're blotching her, you're shrouding her, you're binding her in chains. This is what's happening. So she's really exposing all the confinement that a woman goes through, just as this image, beautiful image. It looks very beautiful, radiant, beautiful nail, everything decked up. But in fact, they are exposing what's really going on, blotched in auspicious, shrouded, bound in chains, etc., etc. And Ajay what is it? Oh, sorry. Ajay vi paye samjhan, es mahamad tak na pahunche koi dana da daan, mahadana sirdan, kanyadan, hoy kalyan. Even now they claim nothing is as great as this great charity, the gift of gifts, the gift of the virgin daughter. Give away your daughter, get God's bounties. So she's kind of addressing that, hey, you think you're doing it? And then she goes on to say, a diamond never cries, cow never speaks, a virgin is ever voiceless. Rejoice in your charity, give to your heart's content, gift of the virgin, Kanyadan. So it's a real critique of dowry and the way women are commodified, and the daughters and nieces and sisters and aunts, you think, oh, how lavish, we're doing all this for the daughter's sake. But it's showing the real side of it, how they're being exploited and commodified. And I really think they go very well, the two, the painting and the poem. So here again, Pritam's critique of patriarchal religion, she's very critical of that. These are poems from my book that I translated some years ago. You can look at that, but the painting on the hill, so you see this woman, this is Amrita Sher-Gil's painting. This is Amrita Pritam's poem here. Here is this God, this image, this great God, marble figure. People are worshipping it, and it's frigid, frigid, frigid. There's nothing, no warmth, no emotion in it. And the last sentence, Hare, we have how many kisses from lips have congealed at your feet? Women go and worship this image, and they caress it, and they kiss that. And it's really, again, very, very powerful. Patthar de jute pairanu pujana pav kamare. My pure virgin desires worship your polluted marble feet. And women are supposed to, always bow to their husbands and to their in-laws and so forth, and go to their feet and so forth. So it's kind of a critique of woman's submission and woman's lack of agency. Here is another one, again, you can see the redness, here is maybe the different classes are shown, the lady newlywed here and the lady in attendance to her. There's a water pot. It's a very, very beautiful one lying on her charpoy. And anyway, there's a poem that goes with it, but for the sake of time, I think I will skip. Here again, now this is quite interesting. This is Sher-Gil's. She's exposing. Besides everything, she's also very, very much conscious of complexion and class. So that plays into it quite a lot. And you can see this is, the image on the left. She did it when she was a 10-year-old in Simla. And here too, you can see the dark hair. This one is all blonde. So something from day one in her mind, there was this kind of dichotomy. And it plays out quite a lot in her works of art. And you have this on the right too, the fair and the dark. And, but again, the contrast between that sparkling, stark whiteness and the darkness, and as a work of art, quite amazing. And this one too, at the age of 10 to do that painting. So this is the ancient storyteller. I quite like this image. And this is again coming at the very end of her life. She was only 28 when she died. She was going to have a big exhibition in Lahore. She had moved there. She married her Hungarian cousin. And he was a doctor, and she was going to have her exhibition. And unfortunately, she passed. So this is one of her last paintings. And you can see the male world and the female world, very divided, bifurcated. And on the left is a poem by Amrita Pritam, which is not translated by me. It's Charles Brush. And here it is, how we are a lump of clay, a handful of man and a handful of woman kneaded together, two hands to form the body. So all that's coming from this early babyhood is what? Milky smell, little sounds, that's it. But this will not last. The clay must be baked in the ovens of religion and morality. Baked, it will bear the marks that many have set upon it, each of its feelings overlaid by the repeated curse of convention. So in a way, it's exposing and dismissing gender roles. How the woman, her role is to cook. There is her, prat, her, her scarf, and you can see her hands kind of lying limp. Whereas here is this guy telling stories, the world of education, being with others, and the kids listening to him so ardently. So here is power, here is powerlessness. Here is the world of the kitchen, culinary, the body. Here is the world of the mind, the intellect, so forth. So this very Descartesian, Cartesian dualism is beautifully, perfectly presented here by Amrita Sher-Gil, and the same in Amrita Pritam's poem on the left. So Jiunda Jivan, and I want to share my last point with you, which is that both of them beckon Punjabi culture. Ultimately, you know, it's the Punjab that they are. And so this is, again, to come back to our original one, kind of a transcendent, beautiful space. The women are together and the swings. And this is Amrita Sher-Gil's painting. Again, very beautiful colors. The women are together. This one is holding a hand fan in her hand. There are some beautiful plants, flowers at the back, and Amrita Pritam's poem on the left, Oho savan ping chutaye, Ohe ralmil gidde paye, Oho geet preet de gaye, Oho singer churmat paye. Let us go back to those swings, you know, monsoon swings, because in the monsoon weather, that's when things go all burst with joy and so forth after the hot summer. Let's have those swings. Let's dance. Gidde paye. This is women's dance. Let's sing songs of love. Oho sanya. Let's all get together. So forth. Heer soni diya zinda ruhan yaad karave aj chanab. And again, going back, hearkening to hear that wonderful, the heroine of Heer Ranja. She was the one that Waris Shah extolled. And here again, let's remember her. The river reminds us. So our unity of the Punjab, Hindu, Muslim together. And this is the last, the last image I want to show. Again, I want to thank Sonia Tammi for this innovative exhibition. We saw Amrita Sher-Gil on the left. This is done by the Singh twins. And actually, I have not seen Amrita Sher-Gil in this kind of an outfit. Basically, she wore Western clothes or sari. So this is quite interesting, you know, the Punjabi outfit that the Singh twins have given her. And of course, she's holding the exhibiting Tales of the Punjab by Flora Steele, and there's all kind of intricacies around it. And I want to end with this poem that is kind of the subtext of your exhibition at Fowler Museum. This is by Amrita Pritam. Main tenu fer milangi. I will meet you again. Kithe? Where? Kis tarah? How? Pata nahi. I don't know. Shayad? Maybe tere takhiyal di shingar banke. Perhaps I will become a figment of your imagination. Teri canvas te utrangi. Teri, I will descend onto your canvas. The person she lived with, Sahid, was a Imroz, sorry, Sahid was the guy, lyricist, the poet that she really was in love with, but Imroz is her partner who she lived with till the very end. He was a painter. So, teri canvas te utrangi, I will descend. Jan, or khore, perhaps, teri canvas te utte ik rahsamayi lakir banke. Or perhaps on your canvas, I will become rahsmayi, a mysterious lakir, line banke, khamosh, silently, tennu takdi ravangi. I will keep watching you. So there she is, her vision, her eyes, ever present there. So these are the timeless agents, these timeless women who have done so much for us. And I'm really glad to be able to share it with you. If you want to look more, I have this book of Sacred and Secular Desire, an anthology of lyrical writings, where I have translated Amrita Pritam's poetry. And this, I wrote an article on Panch Pyariyan, the artistic expression. So I have an article on Amrita Sher-Gil. So those are my two works. But anyway, thank you very much. Sorry, I think it's almost time. And I don't know if we have time for questions, Erin, but...
We do. We have a few minutes, and I'm so glad you got to the final poem. I was about to ask you about it, which is, of course, the title of the exhibition. I will ask you these 3 quick questions, and please feel free to submit more if you are in the audience. What did Amrita Sher-Gil die from?
I'm sorry, I really don't know. But the narrative is that it was a botched abortion. And her cousin, the doctor, her husband, he tried to perform it, and she was found in blood, but we don't know for sure. That's the thing. Her mother was very, very upset with it. Her Hungarian mother was like, what did he do? And so forth. And she committed suicide later on, but the mother committed, yeah.
Wow. Another question. Is there a reason for the hyphen in Sher-Gil, combining the two names? Mom was Hungarian and accused her husband of murdering their daughter.
Yeah, but that's a father's name. Mother's name was Antoinette something. No. So Sher-Gil maybe, I don't know. That's a good question. But Sher-Gil usually is one word. So I don't know why. And also it's with the double L, Gil, Gill. And this one, I'm not too sure. But this is just a father's name. This is her dad's name. So it's not coming from the mother or anything. No.
A last question is, will we get access to the recording? Yes. We will.
I don't.
If we're allowed to, if Professor Singh allows us to post this, which she should, it's wonderful. We will share this recording with all of you. We will have it both on the event page, and we will send it to those who RSVP'd. I will also include a link to our virtual exhibition. If you haven't been able to see the show or cannot see it before it closes on May 26th, this Sunday, we have a beautiful virtual exhibition where you can really go in, see the image up close, read the wall text, and take it in even from afar. It's a profound experience. I wish we'd had an audio guide with Dr. Singh. That would have made it perfect. That was incredible. Any last questions? Oh my goodness, it says, can we share your email? Okay, I will ask that.
Yes.
We have thank yous. This was so wonderful. This was great. I don't see any more questions. I think you answered.
How many people do we have here?
Yeah, I think we had around 30.
Oh, okay. So any of my buddies here? Is my mom there? Mom O'Neill?
Mom. Oh, Professor Singh, how do we find your works?
And they should be all on Amazon, I think.
Your works, and then maybe your professorial.
Lots of books. I have 15 books, guys, and a new book is coming out next year. So be on the lookout. And this is my new area. I cannot tell you how much I enjoyed working on it, because I really have not worked on these two together. So this was a very, very exciting preparation for me. Because I grew up with them, as I said, I was a tiny tot, and both those photographs were a big part of my life, and I admired them, and to get this opportunity to kind of think together. And I do see a lot of similarities, which, because one of them is totally European. She grew up, and actually both of them had traveled greatly. They both were very cosmopolitan in their own different ways. So there is a lot that they share. And it's really, really unfortunate, Aaron, that people don't admire them more. I'm very sad.
They're the two discoveries.
Even Amrita Pritam, for example, that great poem of her, Ajak Khan Varis Shanu. People are upset that she didn't call for Guru Nanak. A Sikh woman does not call for Guru Nanak and instead calls for a Muslim poet. And, so here are these artists who want to break barriers, who want to get out of those boxes and categories and create a pluralistic world. And we don't want to see it. And especially the world today, we are becoming more and more narrow and rigid in our ways, and all the more importance for these artists to be, seen and heard and read and so forth. So what you guys are doing is really, really great. And I think we end here because it's 4:30. I want to thank you, Aaron. I want to thank Hannah. And I want to thank our Jean, who was very good to me, because I'm not very good with the media electronics. So this is great help. So all the best to everybody. Have a great weekend. It's 4:30 my time, and we have graduation coming on. So I'm heading out. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
For everyone who asked about Dr. Singh's work, we will include a link to her website on our event page. And when we send out the recording of this, we thank you for joining us today. And remember, this exhibition, I Will Meet You Yet Again, closes at the Fowler. We're open Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 5 p.m. And we'll also send out the link to the virtual exhibition.
And
We
that's the
hope-
artists. They are meeting us again. They're saying that I will meet you again. They're there in their canvases and in their poetry all over.
This phrase resonates. Once you hear it, you can't not apply it to everything. So we wish you a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we hope you can join us in July for our Sangre de Nopal July opening. We'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.